The Amazing Digital Circus Episode 2 is finally here, bringing with it a ton of new questions and theories about the inner workings of the circus, Kane's adventures, and the lives of in-quest NPCs. My brain hole is still trying to process Gummigoo's existential crisis and what it means for the future of his character, other NPCs, and the circus itself. Plus, there's this whole cameo in the Episode 2 merch video that only adds to the mystery. You're watching Whitney Vision, and these are our theories about Gummigoo's fate and Candy Carrier Chaos. This is your spoiler warning! If you haven't seen TADC Episode 2 yet, hit pause on this video and come back once you've boinked the fudge on the noggin. Okay, before we chat about Gummigoo getting his gooey guts all gummied up, let's take a look at the episode itself and see what information we can start extrapolating on. Set the morning after Episode 1 ended, Cain announces the gang's new adventure for the day, rescuing a valuable supply of maple syrup from a team of dastardly bandits who stole it from the Candy Canyon Kingdom. He adds that the new advanced AI he's using to run the simulation should be 57 times more immersive than previous adventures, and it's not long before we see exactly what he means by that. As creator, Cain uses AI to flesh out fully formed worlds with interactive characters for his human adventurers to interact with, blurring the lines between reality and fiction in one-shot escapades designed to keep the avatar's minds off their endless purgatory. Although last episode's adventure took place within the circus, Cain has the power to create off-site worlds accessible by portal travel inhabited by AI-driven NPCs that he's been developing. These romps don't seem to be designed with any specific message, moral, or lesson attached, and the avatars are left to inflict their own brands of chaos onto each of Cain's invented scenarios. Obviously, there are layers to this that the series has yet to explore. Is Cain using these adventures to train his AI NPC model? Is he training himself? Are the players being tested, or is this truly a kindness Cain does to keep them from spiraling into abstraction? With the intersection of religious and technological themes in this series, I think that there's a lot left to uncover in this department. When we first meet our dastardly NPC bandits, it turns out that they actually have a pretty wholesome reason for stealing all that maple syrup from Princess Lulilalu. Their leader, Gummigoo, has stolen the syrup in hopes of healing his sick mother back at their village, and the other bandits reckon that they have enough syrup to provide hundreds of people with this life-saving sticky concoction. On Tumblr, Gooseworks said that these cuties' names are Max and Chad, although she didn't specify which is which. But here's the thing, Gummigoo's mom isn't real. None of the bandits are, and neither are the other monsters and denizens of the Candy Canyon Kingdom. Gummigoo himself learns this when the truck they're riding falls through the map to the debug room where Cain houses the physical designs of the main NPCs from this particular adventure. In one heart-wrenching, reality-shattering moment, Gummigoo discovers that his entire existence has been a lie. Similarly to the way that Pomni realized she couldn't remember her IRL name when she first arrived at the circus, Gummigoo realizes that he can't actually remember any details about his mother, despite his certainty that she was a fighter who taught him everything he knows in the previous scene. It should be noted that Gooseworks has pointed out a key distinction between Pomni and Gummigoo here. At least with Pomni, there's a vague sense of memory. She may not remember her name, but she does have bits of her history that she can access. She knows that she's in a simulation, for example, and seems to be connected to the origins of the amazing digital circus in the real world. Gummigoo, on the other hand, has nothing but a line of code about his mother to drive his artificially crafted motivations. Gummigoo becomes painfully aware of his cosmic purposelessness and lack of true existence. Noticing the lack of additional gummigators from his village means that the bandits' mission was a meaningless blip. There's no village or villagers or anyone to return the maple syrup to. He's crushed by the uncertainty of what will happen to him once Pomni, Jax, Gangles, and Ragatha venture back to the circus. And honestly, so am I. This scene threw me into a whirlwind of questions about the fate of NPCs in Cain's Twisted Circus games. Because although we eventually find out what happens to unauthorized NPCs who try to inhabit the circus after the adventure is finished, we have no idea what goes on behind the portal after it closes on the Candy Canyon Kingdom. Is Gummigoo right? Are Cain's NPCs merely obstacles created to be defeated and forgotten? We've got a couple options here for how Cain's AI world deals with their NPCs when an adventure is not in play. Option A is that the mini-worlds continue to operate their contained storyline after human avatars from the circus portal back home. If this was the way things work, it makes Jax's decision to leave the kingdom's gate unlocked for the fudge to ravage its people all the more messed up. While the human avatars are shuffled back through the portal, the Candy Canyon Kingdom would likely be eaten, and hopefully if she's out there, Gummigoo's mother would be healed from the syrup. But I'm more inclined to believe that we have an option B on our hands. That Kane's individual stories stop in their tracks the moment the gang returns to the circus. This falls more in line with Gummigoo's analysis of his meaningless existence. The fact that he doesn't remember his mother suggests that his consciousness began either shortly before or during the bandits' first campfire scene. He and the others didn't actually live their backstories. They're simply blinked to life with a fabricated history. The fudge never ate all those candy citizens, the princess rules a kingdom of faceless mannequins, Gummigoo, Max, and Chad aren't from a village, they don't have mothers, and they have no real reason to steal the syrup. Each of their actions and motivations simply exist to further the adventurer's plot, and none of their experiences happened at all. If this is the case, it makes Jax's actions slightly more understandable. He's so gung-ho about violence and chaos because he knows that these adventures are more like a video game or D&D than real life. While Ragatha, Pomni, and Gangles play into the AI immersion and interact with the NPCs as if they're real people, Jax treats every adventure like it's his own personal game of Grand Theft Auto. That doesn't mean that there aren't any consequences whatsoever to messing with these NPCs, however. When Pomni forms a friendship with Gummigoo and brings him back to the circus, Cain explodes him into a burst of confetti with no warning. Apparently, Cain has had some trouble in the past differentiating between human avatars and the NPCs he's created. Likely because he's an AI himself and can't always tell the difference between a real person and a robot. You know when websites make you click on the pictures of mailboxes or traffic lights to prove you're not a robot? Cain can't do that, and it likely caused him to harm an actual human he mistook for an NPC. This line is obviously hinting at something, and it's lit a fire of fan speculation. As far as theories go, I think that most Amazing Digital Circus fans are in agreement that something really bad happened because Cain mistook a human for an NPC or vice versa. But there are a lot of different theories floating around the internet about what that inciting incident was. Some fans speculate that Queenie was an NPC that Kinger fell in love with, only to lose his mind when she was deleted by Cain. Others think Zoobles might be an NPC because of her unstable self-image and her reluctance to go on adventures that include Cain's new NPCs. I have my own theory I'm prepping for another video involving this line hinting at Cain's origins, but the most popular fan theory I've seen states that Jax could be an NPC lurking around the circus like an imposter in Among Us. His cruel, borderline psychopathic treatment of the other circus members and NPCs might indicate a lack of humanity, and his behavior might simply be a result of the AI code Cain implemented in his character. Personally, I need a little bit more evidence before I throw Jax in the NPC column. I just don't see it currently. I play a lot of D&D, and to me, Jax feels like a murder hobo, aka a player character going full chaotic evil just because he can. Jax knows that he can't be punished no matter what he does to the NPCs on adventures, and believes he's trapped in an unending purgatory regardless of his behavior. Being a good person isn't gonna earn him a ticket out of the circus, and he has no reason to believe that anything he does makes a difference to his imprisonment. He won't get extra years incarceration for killing an NPC on adventure, and he won't get released early if he saves the princess. I believe that Jax is the product of eternal life without consequences, so he's blackmailing his fellow circus members, trying to gun down NPCs, and refusing to participate in Kaufmo's funeral simply out of boredom. He takes extreme risks, enacts violence, and verbally abuses the people around him because there's no reason not to, and there's nothing better to do. But whether or not Jax cares about potential consequences, there's still a major one he hasn't yet considered. What happens when you mess with an NPC who's later brought back by Cain? What happens when there are consequences introduced? This is where I currently see the series headed. Ragatha reassures Pomni that she might see her friend again because Cain sometimes likes to reuse NPCs. So what happens when that NPC comes back online? To me, this is clearly indicating that we haven't seen the last of Gummigoo, and my speculation aligns with Gooseworks reassuring fans on Twitter that Gummigoo will eventually return to the series to some degree. But what does returning mean for Gummigoo, and by extension, all the other NPCs? Will Gummigoo's programming start up from this exact moment and he'll remember his existential unraveling? Sort of like those blipped by Thanos? Or will Gummigoo simply awaken as a brand new copy, either as a complete clone or with his old memory wiped and head filled with new implanted memories? Basically, if Gummigoo returns, will we be looking at a lobotomized version of the Candy Croc Pomni befriended, or will we be introduced to Gummy 2, a fresh copy of the file that became our Gummigoo. Or worse, is it the very same Gummigoo, but he's been awake the whole time? Could his self-actualization cause him to reach a level of sentience where his mind is currently online in the ether, but he's physically paralyzed until Cain turns him back on? If it's the first two options, I have to wonder if the events of this episode are buried in his source code. Was a log of this adventure kept as data intended to train his advanced AI? What happens if that code is corrupted and his memories start to crawl back to his consciousness in pieces? What happens if instead of Pomni finding Gummigoo in a moment of existential crisis, it's the less empathetic Jax? Well then, you might just have the makings of an NPC looking to even the score. My theory is that we might actually have a Westworld situation on our hands, and that any future iterations of Gummigoo will have limited access to memories involving the events of this episode. In Westworld, Dr. Ford's Reverie software update causes some of the Westworld hosts to remember their previous narratives and suppressed memories. Although here, I think it's an oversight by Cain and not intentional. I think once Gummigoo became aware of his shattered reality, his code evolved, making it harder for Cain to reset his memories and possibly causing him to corrupt his file. Cain did Thanos him on the spot reflexively without inspecting his code properly. So what would happen to Gummigoo's data if Cain's traditionally harmless NPC reset deleted information that recently evolved to become integral to Gummigoo's entire file? Well, it'd be like deleting a load-bearing pillar to a building. It'd cause instability. Based on the merch promo that dropped for episode 2, I think that there's evidence that this is the path forward, even if the promo itself isn't exactly canon. In the promo, Gummigoo briefly appears but is glitchy and speaks on a loop, implying that the character's data has been corrupted. So what does a glitched out Gummigoo arc look like? What will he want? And what will he be capable of? Will he remember Pomni's generosity and kindness, or will he only remember his purposelessness and the circus's execution? Will Gummigoo seek vengeance for his death, or will he pull a Pinocchio, adventuring into the unknown in order to become a real boy? Gummigoo could very well be the circus's first minor antagonist, and could any of us blame him if he decides to fight for his life to have meaning? I do think if more NPCs gain sentience, it could definitely become a huge problem for Jax. Dolores eventually remembered all of the violence and emotional pain her character was subjected to, and the result wasn't pretty. So I'm definitely worried for Jax if all the NPCs he hurt decide to seek revenge. While it's clear that Cain's AI prevents human avatars from actually getting hurt, Delos Inc. was also convinced that their software fully prevented the hosts at Westworld from harming the guests. We could see serious repercussions for the human avatars if NPCs in Cain's alternate worlds gain sentience and self-awareness. These are just some of my theories on the fate of Gummigoo and the other NPCs, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell to stay updated, and be sure to check out my podcast Guardians of the Galaxy next. I'm Scarlet Wit, and you're watching Whitney Vision.